I'm very good at minding my own business. And the trick to minding your own business is knowing what is your business.
When Dave Chappelle talks, people listen, not because he is loud, but because he has walked away from power before. Years ago, he left behind a massive deal instead of letting the industry control his voice. That decision alone made many people wonder what he saw behind the scenes. Now,
forever.
They're on record. They have all of this information. I sat there and I gave them the names.
with newly discussed Epstein-related documents circulating online, Dave has once again started asking uncomfortable questions. He didn't scream. He didn't accuse in a courtroom. He simply connected dots, and those dots are making Hollywood nervous. For years, people focused only on Jeffrey Epstein as one powerful individual.
Nothing feels better to a coward than to watch a brave guy fall.
But many online believe the story was never about just one man. They believe it was about a network, an environment where influence, silence, and protection work together. And here's where things get intense. Dave recently questioned why certain powerful names always seem to stay protected whenever scandals explode. Why do some careers collapse instantly while others remain untouched? Why do whistleblowers get labeled unstable while elites keep their platforms? Old interviews are now resurfacing, clips from the early 2000s, moments where Dave hinted that Hollywood doesn't just reward talent, it tests obedience. In one famous interview, when he tried to explain pressure from the industry, the response wasn't curiosity, it was doubt. Subtle doubt.
Black people to be disappointed in me for putting that out there.
No, you didn't want to be disappointed in yourself.
You know what, Hope? You're right.
The kind that makes the audience question the speaker instead of the system. Online critics are now revisiting that moment, asking, was that just a misunderstanding? Or was it an example of how powerful media figures control narratives? And then there's the bigger picture. The Epstein case, according to many researchers, wasn't just about crimes, it was about access. Access to celebrities, access to billionaires, access to influence. If a system like that existed, it wouldn't survive without powerful connectors, people trusted by the public, people who could open doors without raising suspicion. No official documents have confirmed any wrongdoing by Oprah Winfrey. But that hasn't stopped online communities from analyzing patterns. Who was connected to whom? Who shared stages? Who defended whom? And who distanced themselves at just the right time? Dave's recent comments didn't directly accuse. Instead,
Yeah, we hear those stories. Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy.
he questioned power structures. He questioned handlers. He questioned why some influential figures always appear near controversy, yet walk away untouched.
Oh, look, Mariah Carey made $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. He's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill you."
And that's what's shaking the industry right now. Because if this isn't about one billionaire, if this isn't about one island, if this is about an entire culture of silence, then the real story might be much bigger than anyone expected. And according to Dave, the public is only now starting to see the pattern. But the Monique situation didn't just fade away. It turned into something much darker. Monique had already survived something painful long before Hollywood politics entered her life. As a child, she publicly shared that she had been abused by her own brother. She said her family didn't protect her. They didn't fully support her. She carried that trauma for years while trying to build her career and heal privately. Then, after refusing to play the game in Hollywood, something happened that many people still question today. Oprah invited Monique's brother onto her show.
She never said my mother was coming on that show. Because had Oprah Winfrey said, "I'm gonna have your mother," I would have said, "Shut it down."
Monique said she did not want to be part of that episode. She wanted distance. She wanted peace. But the show went forward. And according to Monique, it didn't stop there. Family members were brought in, emotions were exposed, old wounds were reopened on national television. Critics online still debate this moment. Some say it was television. Others say it felt personal. Monique later confronted Oprah publicly, asking a simple question: why? Why bring that pain back?
Oprah, this is me to you. All I would ask you, sister, is why would you do that to me? Was it for ratings?
Why platform the very people who dismissed her trauma? Oprah responded by saying she did not intend harm, but many observers argue something important. Shows like that are never random. They are carefully planned. Every guest is booked. Every segment is approved. Nothing just happens. Whether it was miscommunication or something deeper, one fact remains: Monique's career slowed dramatically afterward. And in Hollywood, when someone becomes labeled difficult, doors close quietly. But Monique wasn't the only name that critics connect to Oprah's circle. When the Harvey Weinstein scandal exploded, some celebrities publicly questioned Oprah's previous friendship with him. Actress Rose McGowan openly criticized powerful media figures who, in her view, stayed silent too long. Singer Seal posted messages implying that certain elites protected Weinstein's image for years. There has never been evidence that Oprah was involved in Weinstein's crimes. But critics question why powerful figures often appear supportive of controversial men until the scandal becomes unavoidable. And then came something even more unsettling. Years ago, Oprah traveled to Brazil to interview a so-called spiritual healer known as John of God. She featured him on her platform, describing the experience as powerful.
This is an interview I wasn't sure would ever happen. One of the most famous spiritual healers in the world rarely talks to anyone on camera. John of God agreed to sit down with me under a mango tree on the grounds of the casa.
At the time, many viewers trusted that endorsement, but in 2018, that same man was arrested and later sentenced to decades in prison after hundreds of women accused him of abuse. The allegations were horrifying. The moment that news broke, internet users rushed to revisit old footage. They questioned how such a man gained global credibility. They questioned who helped build his image. And once again, Oprah's name entered the conversation. To be clear, there is no public evidence that she knew about his crimes. But critics argue that powerful endorsements can elevate dangerous individuals before the truth surfaces. And that's where the Epstein discussion returns. Investigators have long stated that Jeffrey Epstein did not operate alone. Complex crimes require networks. They require protection. They require silence. Recently, resurfaced documents and discussions online have reignited debates about how powerful systems protect themselves. Not just one person, but an environment where influence shields influence, a culture where influence decides who is protected, a culture where whistleblowers are isolated, a culture where image is everything. And if that culture truly exists, then the real story isn't about one comedian speaking out. It's about whether Hollywood's most powerful figures are ever truly questioned or simply too powerful to fall. The school in South Africa was meant to be a symbol of hope, a place where young girls from vulnerable communities could receive education and opportunity. But just a few years after it opened, a staff member was arrested for abusing students. But critics online didn't focus only on guilt.
We arrested a former employee who was working at Oprah Winfrey. She was arrested yesterday for several charges, including assault, indecent assault, as well as soliciting girls under the age to commit indecent assault.
They focused on patterns. They pointed out something uncomfortable: powerful platforms, vulnerable people, and predators hiding in respected spaces. That same structure, Scouts promises access, is often described in trafficking investigations. It doesn't prove conspiracy, but it raises questions about how easily influence can create blind spots. Then there's Mel Gibson. Years before Epstein became a global headline, Mel spoke about Hollywood as if it were hiding something dark. He described feeling like he walked into a system where everyone knew secrets, except him. When he began asking questions, he says he felt isolated and labeled unstable. For years, many dismissed him.
I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on, because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
But after films like Sound of Freedom reignited conversations about trafficking networks, some supporters began saying his warnings weren't paranoia, they were early alarms. Again, opinions vary, but the theme remains consistent. When someone challenges powerful circles, their credibility often becomes the first target. That brings everything back to Dave Chappelle. Dave walked away from a massive deal in the mid-2000s. He later explained that he felt uncomfortable with certain pressures behind the scenes. In interviews, he hinted that Hollywood can demand more than talent.
I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you were exactly on track. with a lot of this stuff.
It can demand compliance. Now, with renewed discussions around Epstein's network, Dave is once again questioning the culture of protection at the top. Not presenting courtroom evidence, not filing charges, but asking why certain elite figures always seem insulated from lasting fallout. Is it coincidence? Is it strategic silence? Or is it simply how power protects itself? Epstein's death in jail raised more questions than answers. Security failures, missing footage, a case that many believe never fully unfolded in public view. His associate Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted, yet many still ask, where are the rest of the names?
93.
They're on record. They have all of this information. I sat there and I gave them the names. In fact, if anybody wants to go back to 1993 when I was interviewed by the Santa Barbara Police Department.
That frustration is what fuels these online debates. And this is where the story becomes bigger than any single celebrity. It becomes about influence, about narrative control, about who gets questioned and who doesn't. Dave's message, whether you agree with him or not, seems clear. Stop blindly protecting powerful figures just because they built an inspiring image. Success does not equal innocence. Fame does not equal purity. And questioning power should never be taboo. But here's the truth. No viral clip, no trending hashtag, no dramatic headline replaces real evidence and due process. Questions deserve answers, but accusations require proof. And in a world driven by outrage, that line can easily blur. So where does that leave us? Maybe not with certainty, but with awareness that power structures exist, awareness that media narratives can shape perception, and awareness that real justice requires transparency, not just trending topics. If you found this breakdown powerful, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes in asking hard questions, because conversations like this only grow when people refuse to stay silent. And the biggest question of all is this: are we ready to question power, no matter whose name is attached to it?